welcome to Books and Things with Tom. And I'm having a very interesting show this evening. It's about Jim Henry. I don't know if everybody remembers Jim Henry, but Jim Henry was a fisherman that at the age of 98 wrote a book, and it's called In a Fisherman's Language. Well, Jim passed away a year ago, and I think it was a year ago.
2 years. 2 years.
2 years ago. And he's a great fisherman, and one of the things that he did in his book was to tell a lot of the stories. So that leads us to tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is Joe Sanda, who is an author of the new book, and Robert Henry, who actually put it all together. And the book is called Uncle Jimmy. Uncle Jimmy is more great stories about Uncle Jimmy. Joe also made a disc on it, his conversations with Jimmy, and he put it all together into a book, and it is a fascinating book. And I welcome Joe. Thank you for coming.
Yep.
And Robert, good to see you. And what made you stop taping them, his stories?
Well, it all came about when his wife, Jean, passed away. And he was about 91 or so. And I decided to go over and visit. And as soon as I walk in the door, he says, "Oh, how about some breakfast?" I said, "Sure." He goes, "You're cooking." I said, "Okay." So I would cook bacon and eggs, and then after a while, he just started telling all these. Well, before that, I had asked him questions on the family, because I was doing the family tree. And so he would tell me about this person and that person. And the next thing you know, he starts telling me stories about himself over in the Azores. And that's pretty much how, and every Saturday I would go over there for breakfast. He'd start telling all these stories, and I'm thinking, I got to save these things. So I brought my video camera. I set it up, put it on the tripod. And first thing out of his mouth, he says, "Does that have sound?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "You won't get anything out of me." 2 hours later, he's still talking. Runs the tape right out. Then the next week, I brought another tape and taped them again and got more stories. And the funny thing, I was telling Robert, we could have gotten more stories because he run the tape out and keep on talking about these stories. And so they're not in the book because they weren't on the tape.
Wow. Yeah, he could talk a lot.
Yeah, and his memory was, his long-term memory was so sharp. He'd remember details and people's names from 60, 70 years ago. You know, he just, I just was amazed at how much he remembered.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, that's how the taping came along, you know, and then I didn't know what to do with them. So I'm thinking, it'd make a good book.
Yeah.
We didn't know, I wasn't going to write it. I didn't know nothing about that. And I knew my cousin Robert had written some books. And so one day we, you know.
So you got involved.
Well, I get this email, and it says, "Richard, Noreen, and I were sitting on my deck having cocktails, wondering what to do with all this stuff." So Noreen says, "Hey, let's get Cousin Robert to write a book. Put it all together." Yeah. So the email, now at this point in time, I'm illustrating children's books, you know, kind of monthly, working my tail off. And I said, "The heck with this. I'm going to stop. I'm going to do this for them." And I did. But I was also involved with the Fisherman's Language a little bit, too, at the same point in time, not getting the book together, but advising the granddaughters who put it together.
And that's a good book, too.
It is a good book.
Yeah.
It is a good book. And it overlaps. This book is actually an overlap of that book, in that some of the stories that he talks about in the Fisherman's Language are expanded upon based on those tapes. Because I guess at one point, as Joey says, he was very lucid.
Yeah.
At 98, you know, kind of. So some of the details that I picked up from the tapes added to those stories in fisherman's language. So it's a you know, an addendum, if you will. But then there's other things that, you know, couldn't possibly
But you have the family tree and pictures and everything. in
Well,
it.
he's responsible for the family tree.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got into doing the family tree because I like the hunt. You know, it was like antiquing. You know,
Yeah.
you'd go out and try to find these different things, and you know, I first went on Ancestry.com and other sites, and I started finding all this information, and it's like, wow, I can put this together. And then I got the Family Tree Maker, which made it easy to write down everything that, you know, all the dates and places. And so I just kept doing it. And then Uncle Jimmy was probably one of the only relatives that was still alive that I could ask about so-and-so and so-and-so. And he had a lot of information. And so that's how the family tree got in there, you know.
Yeah, because I tried to do a family tree. There's nobody left. I shouldn't say that because I got relatives over in Stonington. If I go and knock on house to house, I could probably find out.
Yeah, probably.
That's great. So how long did it take you? How long did it take you to put it together, or to?
Well, like I was telling Robert today or yesterday, I said it was too bad that I taped him in when he was 91 or 92, and I guess that was 2006, somewhere around there. But I was telling him, I said, if I even thought about what to do with these while he was still alive,
Yeah.
he would love this book. I mean, he would be so proud of this book.
Yeah.
You know, and I said, I kind of regret not doing that. I just didn't think of it. I knew I had all this material, but I didn't know what to do with it, you know.
And then he figures, send it to me. So he sends me 2 CDs
Yeah.
and a stack of papers about like this of all the genealogy. Then another whole packet full of photographs. And some of them I hadn't seen since I was a boy.
No.
And then I had some of my own from my family, because my grandfather was Uncle Jimmy's eldest brother. So we got all this together. And it took me 3 months of writing, compiling, calling back and forth. Noreen, his daughter, and Richard, our other cousin,
Yeah.
trying to get everything, you know, chronological, which in a fisherman language it isn't. It jumps.
Yeah.
But me, I figure you want to know from
Oh, sure.
the eldest, you know, the father, all the way through to the youngest kids. And it took about 3 months that I stopped illustrating, and I wanted to do this because Uncle Jimmy was my uncle. I mean, you know.
Yeah.
He was a good guy. And the funny thing was, when I would ask him a question, he'd go, I can't remember that. But if you could start him in the beginning, eventually he'd come up to that question that you asked. He'd remember it. Because he could remember it if he put it in order.
Yeah.
But if you asked him a question about something here, it's like, oh, I don't remember that. That was 100 years ago.
Now, how many brothers and sisters did he have?
8.
8.
Including himself.
And
7.
prior to that, 2 died.
Oh,
Yeah.
But
big family.
yeah. Oh well, you come from the Portuguese, you know.
Yeah. They were. Well, Manuel was born in Azores, but everyone else, actually,
Yeah. everyone else was
Mary,
born in in
Mary,
America.
Frank, Joe, and I think John, they were all born in the borough.
Really?
Yeah, they were all born in Stonington. Yeah, because Uncle Jimmy came after his mother died in, I think, 1932 or 3. He came to Stonington to lobster with his father, and so his father at one time was living on Omega Street back in 1903, 1904, you know. And then I think when Uncle Jimmy was probably 1 or 2, right after my mother was born in Massachusetts, they all went over to the Azores. And they stayed there until Uncle Jimmy was about 8 years old, and they came back to Bristol. And I'm not sure how Uncle Jimmy's father went from Bristol to Stonington without the wife. You know, so,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Now, I have to ask a question. The difference between Henry and Arruda.
Oh, I can explain that.
It was just too long an answer.
I'll cut it down short.
Okay.
Manuel Filomena Arruda, the patriarch,
Okay.
came to this country, and he worked in I think it was a steel mill. No one could pronounce Arruda without mispronouncing it in Portuguese. He had an Irish boss who said, "The heck with this, I'm calling you Big Henry." Then, when Uncle Jimmy grew up and started working alongside his father, Uncle Jimmy decides he's got to go and get a license. He goes into the driver's license place, and he doesn't know, you know, I mean, he's filling this out, and he's kind of worried. And one of the clerks says, "Well, what's your name?" And this gentleman next to him goes, "What do you mean, you don't know Big Henry Jimmy? Jimmy Henry, the lobster man?" And apparently during those times, if you got lobsters for free to public officials, you were in Gold City.
wow.
So they put him as Jimmy Henry with the A in the middle.
Okay.
Now, half of the family kept Henry. My grandfather was Manuel Henry. There's a couple of others that were, you know, like
My
Uncle
mother
Jimmy.
Rhodes was an Arruda, and the next thing you know, well,
She's a Henry.
because when
Before
her
she
mother died, she went to live with Manuel in Naugatuck, Connecticut. And she worked at the rubber factory there. And of course, oh, this is Manuel Henry's sister, Rose Henry. So her name went from Arruda to Henry right there.
Now, there are relatives of ours in Eureka, California
Yeah.
that still are Arrudas.
Huh.
And Plymouth, Massachusetts, the other side of Uncle Jimmy's, would be his uncle. They all lived in Plymouth, Massachusetts, because I remember as a boy going to visit them with my mother, and that's another whole side, you know.
And they were Arrudas.
They are all still are Arrudas.
Yeah.
So you could probably sell a couple thousand books in Borough.
Yeah. You could go to door, and
Yeah, from what I hear, there are like 5 Jimmy Henrys in Stonington today.
Is there?
yeah, there's a lot of Henrys.
Arrudas and you know, oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I went to school with Arruda. I went to school with Sanda.
yeah, that was Uncle Jimmy's
Henry.
Oh, you went to
daughter.
Yeah.
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 She graduated with me.
Oh, really? You don't look that old.
Thank you. I am, but don't say it like that.
Yeah. Sandra and Noreen were, you know, that's the ones that I grew up knowing besides these two.
Oh, yeah.
Well, him and
Wherever
his-
he is, Richard, he's actually working.
yeah.
That's why he's not here.
Yeah. And she died very young.
Yep,
Nice girl.
27.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too bad. So,
Mm-hmm.
But her photograph's in the book.
what was it?
Yep.
I missed that one.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere. Yeah, as a kid, not as an adult. Oh.
Now, how are you selling this book? Do you have it available anyplace?
It's available on Amazon.com as we speak.
No, okay, good.
Just type in Uncle Jimmy and bingo. Otherwise, selling it, I'm leaving it up to him. I'm in West Virginia.
Yeah.
He's in the borough, and with all those Henrys and Sandas, I mean, if even one of them had a copy of it, hey, we're talking a
You
couple
gotta let
hundred.
people know it's available.
Well, I put it in the bookstore in Mystic.
Yeah.
I put a couple copies in the Stonington Library
Yeah.
and the Palmer Library. They got a copy.
Okay.
I got a really nice letter from them, too, thanking me about the book, and they thought it was a very good contribution to their historical, as
Yeah.
that's pretty much run by the Historical Society in Stonington.
Yeah.
And they really liked the book. So
I suppose we could put a website up, but Amazon handles that. I mean, you know, you just go to Amazon, bingo.
Are you on Facebook? Mm-hmm. That's where you want to put it.
Okay.
I actually put it on when I first got the book. I put it up there, and that's how all of our cousins saw it and all bought it. You know,
I don't do Facebook. You know, I'm in
Yes,
hillbilly
Facebook is
country.
amazing. You
yeah,
get
it is, really is.
a lot of advertising and a lot of stuff on there. And The other thing is, that, and I mentioned to you before, was Southeastern Connecticut Authors and Publishers, of which is a sponsor of this show, and I'm the chairman. And you can come on our show and learn how to different ways to market your book, and try to sell it. We have a book sales coming up in August that you can sign up for, but we want to try to sell books. If you don't sell the book doesn't sell itself.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's very rare that somebody's going to call.
See, that wasn't something I was even.
No.
I wasn't even contemplating selling the book. It was a thing where I think Uncle Jimmy would really, enjoy having his story told.
Yeah.
And that basically, it's like, I don't care if we make money or not. The book is out there, his story is told,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much why I did it.
It's not a question of making money, because
Yeah.
you're never going to make any money.
No.
But unless you sell 1 million copies.
Yeah.
But the point is to get it out
Yeah.
to family members, to people that are interested in.
Yeah.
And it is a very interesting story.
There's also the entire history of the Stonington Fleet in there.
Yeah.
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 And he started.
Well, he started two things. He started the New England Fishermen's Association.
Yeah.
And don't forget the Blessing of the Fleet.
That's right. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we used to come. You see, we were living in Naugatuck, and every summer we'd go to Stonington first on July 4th or 3rd, and then Bristol for the 4th of July parade. And then we'd go back to Stonington. And those are my most fond memories as a child,
Yeah.
because I got to see all of these guys, and I got to eat lobster.
He's a lobster freak.
God.
Try getting lobster in West Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
They sell it to you fresh.
Well, you can have it flown in. A friend of mine flies it in every once in a while, but I won't touch it.
No.
It's been on a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, you used to get it right off of the boat, That's the way you
It's
do
funny because the way he loves his lobster, and I'm like, if I never ate another lobster in my life, I wouldn't care. And my father was a commercial fisherman. He'd be bringing lobster home all the time, fresh tuna, fresh swordfish, and I'm like, no, thank you, but no.
My mother ate 3 lobsters, I think she said, 3 or 4 lobsters the day before I was born. And I crave lobsters.
When my sister got married, Uncle Jimmy decided that he was going to basically feed all the guests with lobster and clams and
Yeah.
everything. They're preparing it. Aunt Rose they're preparing the lobster. My grandmother's there preparing the lobster. Aunt Stella's preparing the lobster. Aunt Jean's preparing the lobster. And then all of a sudden they get hungry. And they ate a lot of them. So that Uncle Jimmy had to go out the next day and recruit all of the lobsters.
I remember that. I do
So
remember that.
our family loves lobster.
Oh, my God.
And you notice I say it correctly, lobster.
Yeah, lobster.
Yeah.
It's lobster.
There's
It's
an
delicious.
incorrect way to say it, huh?
Lobster.
Oh, that's probably me.
Yeah, I've eaten lobster ever since I can remember. And we used to, I don't know if I can say this, but I guess I can. We used to go over to Stonington buy the shorts back in the 50s. And, they were so tender. But then the laws came through that you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And that was too bad, because we had cousins down there, Ponce and Siddell's and whoever's. And we'd go over and get what we needed.
I miss it now.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Because you can't have it.
Well, I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah.
Not down there. But
No, maybe
he told me he was going to buy me dinner tonight. Lobster.
Before you go back, we'll get you a lobster.
There you go.
Where's the best place to get lobster? Seeing how I don't eat it, I don't.
No.
We'll find out.
I'll ask my
I would-
brother Richard.
We'll Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, yeah.
I'd go to Stop and Shop and have them cook it and bring it home. I don't know I don't even know if the summer places are open yet, like Abbott's and all those places.
I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Maybe the Seawell.
Well, they got them.
Yeah, they got them.
Yeah.
The thing about lobsters, I just can't see putting a live thing in boiling water. And one day, because I do wildlife rehab, and my raccoons really liked lobster. So I said, I had a sick one. And he wasn't eating. I said to Cindy, I go down and get me some lobster. So what does she do? He gets a live lobster. I'm like, no. I took the lobster, went down to the town dock, and threw it back in the ocean, and went and got some lobster meat. Because I just can't put it in the boiling water. It's just, inhumane. A lot, So
Well, they don't scream and holler long.
they don't have lips.
You go head first.
Yeah, I know. I watch my mother do that
Yeah.
all the time. But,
Yeah, well, as long as you don't make them a pet before you put them in,
Cindy couldn't believe I went and brought it back down to the town dock and threw it in the ocean.
Me either. I just throwing it in after it. No, lobster is just, and you're probably the same way as I am. You eat everything except the shells.
Oh, yeah.
And I love to go to dinner with people who don't like to eat bodies, and that's more for me.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the same way when we'd go out and she'd order a lobster, she'd eat the claws and the tail and leave everything else. I'd bring everything home, give it to the raccoons. They loved it.
Make salad out of it. You do anything.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
takes me twice as long. I had gone out to dinner one time, and it was 4 of us. 3 of them didn't eat the bellies. I was there for an extra hour.
Yeah.
But anyway,
We
lobster.
used to love going on Uncle Jimmy's boat.
Yeah.
'Cause well, as I say in the book, just going out, especially like during the blessing of the fleet, sitting on the bow, having a wave come crashing in, spraying all over my face.
Yeah.
And then going back to the house.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to go out on his boat during the blessing of the fleet.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it would be all decorated up, and
Oh, that's right, yeah.
yeah, we'd jump on his boat, and
Yeah.
it was the Noranda, I think it was.
Yeah, the Noranda, yeah. That's the one I remember.
Yeah.
The book tells about all the other ones that he captained and crewed.
Yeah.
In fact, it starts out just as crewing, yeah.
Huh.
But, never got to eat any of his, what was that fish that he talks about? I don't know, scrup,
Oh, yeah, something like that.
something like that. I wonder
I
what
don't
that
know.
was.
I'm a bad Portuguese. I don't know that much about fishing. And I just, but I know how to eat them.
I know how to eat them, yeah.
Now, I went fishing with a guy one time. He had a boat. He said, "You want to go with me?" I said, "Sure." He says, "I'll pick you up at 3. In the afternoon? No. He said, about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Are you crazy? You're out there in the dock in the boat.
yeah.
And I'm thinking, and it's freezing.
Well,
And I'm
that's
thinking,
why they make coats.
yeah.
Yeah. Many a time, my brother Richard would say, "Yeah, we're going fishing. You want to come? Okay. Yeah, meet us at the dock at 5 in the morning."
Yeah.
5 in the morning. Gee. All right.
But
so-
you want to catch fish.
Yeah. Well,
gotta
that
catch
boy
the
knew how to
tide.
catch fish. He knew right where to go. He's a good fisherman. Yeah, he loves it.
Not easy. Not an easy job
No.
being a fisherman. And a lot of times you don't come back. And I know in that first book you talked about.
This one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know it might be the same story.
Yeah.
Well, or expanded story, yeah,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of times and I remember he used to say something like, "Well, I must have rubbed my nose on the right side. We didn't catch no fish, but if I went like this, we caught fish."
But that's why they have the big rock down there with all the names on it, on the Stallion dock.
Yeah.
It's for the honor of the fishermen that go out there and work hard and get his stuff.
Yeah, that's in here too, yeah.
Well, I hope you do good with this book because it is an interesting book.
There's
Sanda
Sanda
right
right
there.
there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was before I knew her, though.
Yeah, this is her too.
I've got a picture at home in my yearbook.
My mother Rose and Sandra.
Wow.
That was her, I don't know, confirmation. My mother would make all her clothes.
Really?
That's a patriarch. That's Manuel and his wife.
Oh, okay.
That's,
So we got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything else you'd like to add to this?
Robert?
I don't know.
Well, I can tell you
There's the
one.
book.
There's the book. Yeah.
There's a book.
There's
You
the
can-
book.
Amazon.com.
There
Just
it is,
type
right
in
there.
Uncle Jimmy.
Yep.
Yep.
And,
You know what?
Oh, you can email Joey.
Joey's got emails up there
Yep.
if you want questions, or maybe you'd like to give some information to him. They can write another one.
Yeah,
Yes.
right in, yeah. One of the
Well,
things,
yeah, mail it to him and let him compile it.
Yeah,
And then I'll
send
take
you the
my,
pack.
my
Yeah.
magic fingers.
one of the things that got my uncle and I really close was when I was building my house, he pretty much helped me build it and saved me lots and lots of money and taught me how to be a carpenter.
He was like,
You know.
what, 85 then?
He was 75. He was 75 years old when he helped me build that
You
house.
should see this house. It's gorgeous.
Wow.
And he did all the plumbing, and it was amazing to watch him do this, because, this is my uncle. I didn't know he could do this, I
Yeah.
know he did build his own house, but, he said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And we did it, and it, saved me a lot of money. And that's how we got close,
Yeah.
because, he helped me. And later on, every holiday, every birthday, he liked cognac, Cavassier.
Oh.
I would buy him a bottle, and he would just drink a little bit of it. That bottle would last him probably 6 months,
Really?
And, yeah. And so that's when I started having breakfast with him, and we got even closer, because of our relationship with the house. Yeah, he was like, became like a father figure to me,
Yeah.
And I might
Well,
have
I'm
been
glad you
the
guys
son.
got together and did this book, because it's a tremendous book. And it's a piece of history that obviously is not going to be lost now.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
Yeah, I'm just so glad I had the forethought about taping him, and because if I hadn't, all those stories are gone. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of history in the book,
Yeah.
especially Stonington history.
Yeah.
I mean, he's telling me about the time they were walking down the street in the middle of 38 hurricane and didn't know it was a hurricane.
God.
And
On Jimmy the Goose,
Jimmy the
an old
Goose.
rum runner, friend of his,
Oh, yeah?
back in the early 30s.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's time to wrap it up, and stay tuned immediately following the show for part 2, because we're going to go right into the Denison Farms Market. And tonight's guest is Dick and Dot Wingate of the Studio Farm in Voluntown. And we're going to be doing that every week for a double show. Next week's guest is author Charlene Tops, and part 2 will have another Denison Farm Market participant, Ed and Belinda Learned of the Stony Ledge Farm in Clarks Falls, North Stonington. Next time you're in Groton, stop by and see our new station, studio. We've got amazing things in here. And stop in and say hello. We're a nonprofit organization, and we do take donations. And it's tax-free because we're a 501c3. And I want to thank you guys for being on the show.
Thank you for
Appreciate it.
having us.
And you should be reading. Email me at my santostom@comcast.net, and I'll be happy. Tom Santos. I got the wrong way. Anyway, I'll be happy to answer you. Let me know what kind of shows you want to watch. You should be reading. Cuddle up with a good book. And summer's here, so you can read outside now. And I'll see you next week.